Hey guys, I'm going to tell you about the Glenn Greenwald Kink tape that was released into the world. So I'm stuck in how to explain it because, on the one hand, I hate further publicizing and telling the embarrassing details of these sexual allegations because of the context and the history that I'm about to explain to you. On the other hand, I hate it when I watch a video or I read an article and they never tell you what actually happened, right? So what I'm going to do is something in the middle. So it's a King tape. He is being dominated in the tape. He has very little clothes. Okay, you don't like, and it's by another guy. Okay, so now if you want to read more into it, I got you, and I don't blame you for it. People are naturally curious, right? But I hope to God that you're not going to shame him for it, or think anything differently of him because of it. So for reasons that I'm going to explain in a second. So first of all, guys, I'm live today over the weekend, but we're live every day, Monday through Friday, 6 o'clock Eastern, 6 to 8 o'clock, and then at 8 o'clock, oftentimes we do interviews or we do special extra episodes for our members. You hit the join button below, you become a member, you get all the content, and you support the show. We appreciate you guys. Or just ring the bell and subscribe. All right, so um, look, there's two theories that I'm not going to comment on about this Glenn Greenwald tape. One theory, well, I'm not going to comment much on. One theory is that no, he leaked it himself. I'm not a cyber detective. I have no idea if that theory is true or not true, and I don't care that much about it. Yeah, if it was him, then that's a different story. I get it. But like everybody becomes Monk, the defective detective, in situations like this, and they Sherlock Holmes it, and they're all sure that they have the right timeline. I don't know. That's not that interesting to me. The context is the most interesting thing. Then the second theory is that Mossad leaked this tape because Glenn has been very critical of Israel, and that theory has a adjacent theory, which is that Epstein is a Mossad agent, and they've been collecting tapes on important Americans for a long time and then using that as blackmail. I have no idea if that's true or untrue. I present to you these as rumors, but certainly, like, again, in articles they'll say there's rumors and they won't tell you what the frick it is, right? So that's the two rumors in this case, right? And again, I have no particular evidence in one way or another. I'm also not an intelligence agent, right? So have people used blackmail in the past? Of course. Do we know who's using it? Whether they have it in the Epstein case, whether it was true in this Glenn Greenwald case, we have no idea. Okay. So, on the other hand, I wouldn't be shocked by it. Like, oh my God, they would never, right? So, but you got to have evidence. So, now, to me, the most important point is this. Okay, guys, in the old days, this is so important that you know this context. In the old days, there used to be literal assassination. So if you challenge power, Fred Hampton, Martin Luther King, and then, of course, in their own way, even though they were power, JFK, RFK, etc. So if you challenge, and certainly, I mean, God help you if you were uh, a Latin American leader or an African leader in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and you were actually trying to help your people, and it costs an American or Western corporation a nickel or a dime, uh, they were going to end you one way or another, right? Some sort of coup or a literal assassination, etc. So that was the old ways. But what they realized was, well, when we do that, we kind of make martyrs of these people, and their causes don't become less popular. A lot of times, their causes become more popular. So then the system realized, hey, wait a minute, there's a better way. And this is kind of the invisible hand of the market, in my opinion. And the powerful found a much better way of destroying a movement and an idea. So they take the leader of that idea or perceived several leaders of that idea and they character assassinate them. Now, that's genius because it makes the idea or that movement that they're attached to more toxic. Oh, let's use this as an example. I'm not saying it happened in this case, but oh, you like Glenn's ideas that that Israel should stop slaughtering Palestinians and their children. Did you know that Glenn has a King tape? Have you seen it? Sex, 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 sex. Oh, everybody hate him, everybody hate him, everybody shame him. That's how it works. You've actually seen this dozens of times in your life. You just didn't know that it was a thing. right? So the most famous example is Elliot Spitzer. And it happens to the left, it happens to the right, but the main people it happens to is outsiders challenging power. And there is a needle in a haystack theory that I'm going to get to in a second. And by the way, if you become a member or do a super chat, I'll try to shout it out live here, since this is one of the weekend lives and I get to see your comments right next to my screen right there. Okay, so to the best of my ability. Okay, so Elliot Spitzer is the most famous example. So he happened to be on the left. He was a first attorney general in New York, and he went after Wall Street bankers who were robbing their own customers, committing fraud. I mean, the worst of the worst, right? And then he later became governor of New York, and his nickname was the Sheriff of Wall Street, and the powerful despised them. So then what they did was, now they're not going to go old school, and Elliot Spitzer was, an upstanding member of the New York community. That's crazy talk in times of evolved. So of course they did what I'm describing, character assassination. So what did they do? And they brag about this on tape, by the way. Netflix has the documentary. I think it's Client Number 9. And so the billionaires go, well, we decided to hire a private detective and try to destroy him. So we tried to destroy his character. I'm like, well, thank you. This was my thesis before any of that happened. I've explained it on the Young Turks many times. And then it's even in my book, Justice is Coming. And then they spectacularly prove it. And they say it. They just say it like, yes, we tried to assassinate his character. We tried to get everybody to hate him through a sex scandal. We hired a private detective, and luckily we caught him with some high-end escorts. And then this is another extra, for those of you familiar with it, this is the part that's really both interesting and infuriating. So they attribute this to Roger Stone, but so many things are attributed to Roger Stone. I don't know if it's true or untrue, right? But they did make up this part, whether it was Stone or not. They said that he would always leave his black socks on when having sex. Okay, totally made up. But it was such a powerful visual, and it sounded so granular that it had the air of being true. So people really believed it. And then it, like, for whatever reason, viscerally, that made them angrier, disgusted them more. And they're like, Elliot Spitzer, he had sex with the wrong people. That's it. Get him out of there. Put the bankers back in charge. And that's what they did. And he had to step down from being governor. Look, in his case, I get it that there was a hypocrisy that he was a prosecutor and he prosecuted prostitutes and Johns, and he himself was a John. And so that's a hypocrisy. I totally get it. Okay. And Glenn has nothing like that in this case. For example, it was with another man. Well, everybody knows Glenn is gay. He has said it a million times. He's married. He's got kids, right? Like, he's been gay for as long as anybody's known. So it's not like gotcha. And besides which, I mean, these days, is that a gotcha? Unless, I guess, you're Schlippity Schlap, the guy who runs CPAC, and you're a right-wing hypocrite, and you're like, oh, the gays are bad, and then he's like pummeling people's crotch. That's literally how it was described. Well, I don't know that they did that hand motion, but the pummeling of the crotch was discussed. And so, oh, by the way, there we go. Timothy Forks. Thank you for becoming a member through that beautiful join button below. All right, so that's how they smear someone. And when they do it, then they say, look at this guy. You don't want to be associated with him. And then, by the way, all of his acolytes, the people who were under him, who were also tough regulators, wanted to regulate the banks. Then it becomes toxic to be associated with Elliot Spitzer. You see how dirty this trick is? So what's the needle in a haystack? So when they dig through your life, and this is pretty much happened to me, right? And then I'll tell you how I came out on this. So what they'll do is they'll hire some private detective, try to catch you in some sort of sex act. Oh my God, if they got video, like in this case, oh, we have video. Stop listening to him, please. Whatever, Glenn's doing, toppling the Brazilian government, criticizing the Israeli government, whoever his detractors are, stop listening to him, okay? And by the way, Glenn and I have a fascinating history, and we have massively agreed and massively disagreed on many things. So I would argue I don't have a dog in this fight. And so, but I know how this game is played, and that's why I want to convey it to you guys, so you know the truth and reality. So needle in a haystack is you want to target someone, but the haystack of their life is really good, really solid, right? So you go digging for a needle that you could find and go, aha, this is who this guy is. The number one entity that does this is mainstream media. They do it 24/7. They did it to me. They do it to everyone. No, find the needle. It's a Bernie supporter. Find the needle. I wonder if they chanted at the New York Times, find the needle, find the needle. Okay. So they'll find something wrong in your life and go, aha, this is the haystack. Okay. And since it's the New York Times, they're so sophisticated, they're so elite, they're the paper of record. You know you're an elitist when you declare yourself the paper of record. Okay. So keep it real. Of the elitists, by the elitists, for the elitists, right? So when the elites see the New York Times print something, they're like, I do declare, I see a needle, but they've declared it a haystack. So it's a haystack. Everybody, it's a haystack. Okay, so that's how it usually works. So, all right, I'll give you my example because it's actually a pretty good example of needle and haystack phenomenon. So first they go look for, hey, is this guy doing something wrong in his personal sex life? So they can't find that at all. I'm the most boring guy in America, right? So then they go and see if there's a problem at work, right? And so because sex is the best one, because immediately every woman in the country hates you. I'm going to keep it real, right? The minute there's a sex scandal, and I say, well, no, that guy was actually the sheriff of Wall Street, and he was actually women. I'm being real with you guys. Is it all women? Of course not. Of course not, right? But is it a lot of women who are like, no, I don't want to hear it. No, I hate that guy. I don't want to hear it. From now on, it's over for him. Okay. So that's why sex is perfect, because you grab like 45% of the population on minute one of the scandal to your side, right? And then guys will be moralistic, and those guys are the biggest perverts of all. Like the guy pointing his finger the most, going, shame on Glenn, shame on Elliot. Those guys, oh, I mean, they're up in the sky on some Vietnamese basket trick. I mean, trust me. Okay, those guys, you want to see a pervert? Look at a moralizer. Okay, 99 out of 100 moralizers are perverts. So that's another rule. Go ahead and enjoy that one. Okay, so they look there, and then they look at our office space when they were trying to bury me for Justice Democrats. And then they called every woman that ever worked with us and spick and span. Turns out I'm a nice boss. Okay, now, you might not hear that from some folks on the internet who have been looking for needles, right? So they make up stuff. But in fact, when they talk to all the women that worked at TYT, they were generally incredibly happy to work there. So I feel actually really proud about that, right? So then they dug and dug and dug, and they finally found blogs I wrote in the 1990s and that I had deleted 15 years earlier. And in the blogs, they found me making jokes about how I couldn't get laid, self-effacing jokes, and pretended that it was comments against the genetics of women, that I was serious. That I said I couldn't get laid in South Beach, so I guess the genes of women must be flawed. It's a joke about me, right? New York Times, yep, he hates the genetics of women, dirtbag right winger, anti-Muslim. I'm Muslim. What that? No, anti-Muslim. Obviously, should we throw an anti-Semite? Well, we do in every article. You say, what's his position on Israel? Oh, yeah, anti-Semite. Right? Okay. Sleeps with animals. I'm not even joking. They insinuated that it was part of my policy. Okay. Why? They wanted to smear Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders had endorsed me, and it was Super Tuesday was coming up in 2020. So LA Times, New York Times, and CNN were like, yes, we get to smear by association. Bernie has endorsed this rando that we actually barely know. Okay, but yeah, he's big on the internet. Nobody knows. He's not important. Okay, so since he can't fight back, we think he can't fight back, and we think he's not important. He doesn't have status. Let's bury this guy. Give me 3 needles. It doesn't matter. Blogs deleted them. Not true. Out of context. Who cares? Oh, he interviewed David Duke. Oh, that's great. Let's say that he's a racist anti-Semite. Oh, in the interview, he called David Duke an anti-Semite, a racist, a bigot, an idiot, etc. Huh? Well, then let's just lie about it. Okay. And they did. They said, oh, he brought on David Duke and said that he wasn't racist. Then other journalists are like, you guys are just lying. This is weird. So they're like, okay, Sam, a little correction, fine, a correction on that one, okay? So why do I tell you that? Because that's the phenomenon. That's how much they dig. And by the way, it works every time. So when they found those old blogs with jokes about me and misinterpreted, blah, 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 all the other things. And by the way, a couple of bad jokes, right? So they then take it to the Justice Democrat staff in that case, and they go, "Oh, it was the alt right that did it in the first place." And I'm like, "You're walking right into an alt right ambush," and they're like, "Yeah, of course, cancel." And they did. Look, keep it real. I've given the Justice Democrat staff from back then a lot of credit because they found great candidates. They did great work, and we won super important races. And when they tried to split us apart, I wouldn't let them. And I told all of our viewers, do not attack the Justice Democratic candidates. In fact, keep supporting them, keep giving them money, because the cause is more important. The policy is more important if we can get to the policy. And AOC did introduce the Green New Deal in Congress, and it did make a difference. And it made a difference that we stuck together. Now, in that case, they cleaved me off, and that character assassination worked perfectly, even with the rustiest, smallest needles you have ever seen, right? And even then, they were like, haystack, haystack, right? And then when I ran later for Congress, then the New York Times and Jake Tapper, by the way, and others in media took all of those alt-right smears, which then had cancel culture put on top of it. And then they were like, oh, we love it. We get to smear Bernie. We get to smear this guy who's always criticizing us. And so let's just make up stuff about him. Let's just go find the needles. And that's it. We'll assassinate his character. And then we'll tell you, because of that, you can't support progressives. No. You don't want paid family leave. You don't want higher wages. You don't want lower drug prices, because Cenk wrote a blog in the 1990s and Bernie endorsed Cenk, and Bernie would give you those things, but sex. He said something about women in South Beach and genetics. Sex, needle, sex needle, right? That's how this game is played. So when you show me the Glenn Greenwald Kink tape and tell me I should think this or that about it, no deal. Okay, it will not affect how I view Glenn at all. It was consensual. It's private. I don't give a goddamn what he does, and I don't find anything wrong with it. Yeah. Oh, okay. No, like some people online, like, well, I mean, it is immoral. No, it's not. It's not your business. Okay, if it's consensual, it's not your business. Okay, who cares if he likes this or that? What do you like? First guy without a fetish, throw the first stone. Okay, go ahead, throw it. You're not going to throw it. You have a fetish. How do I know that? I interviewed a guy like a decade ago who wrote a book on fetishes. And you know what percentage of men have fetishes? 98%. Okay. And the other two are probably asexual. Okay. So you all have one. Who are you kidding? So no, I wouldn't judge Glenn 1% on this. It doesn't affect his ideas. And no matter what you think, you better not let the bad guys win and have you think less of him or his ideas because of this tape being released, no matter who released it. Okay, so let's wisen up to these tricks. And the next time it happens, see it, you see the pattern and go, oh, I know what you're doing. The guy who's being attacked is not the bad guy. The guy releasing the tape, the guy doing the attack is the bad guy. Okay, so that's my view and analysis of Glenn's tape. And free Palestine.